another Doctor Who product review. Today I'm going to be taking a look at another vinyl record release. This time round it is the double LP exclusive to Record Store Day 2018 Tomb of the Cybermen limited edition television soundtrack, which is incredibly exciting and looks very pretty, as you can see. So you may in fact recall to a few months back I did a review of the Dalek soundtrack from the first Doctor era, and that was the actual sort of music from that story, and it was my first Doctor Who related record because for Christmas just gone I decided to start off a new hobby and sort of get into vinyls, and not necessarily just Doctor Who vinyls, but my favourite bands and music, because I thought it would be something different to Doctor Who. But it turns out that at that same time, a lot of Doctor Who records came out. This is one of them, well, one of two in fact, from Record Store Day 2018. So this is the one I'm going to be taking a look at today, the Tomb of the Cybermen. That also released alongside it is the limited edition City of Death one, which I will be reviewing in the future. I've not yet listened to it though, however, so I'll do a video in the same style, taking a look at that one, no doubt, in a few weeks. So yeah, this is the one I'm going to be starting off with today, limited edition 23000, and it looks very exciting, and it is essentially the television soundtrack to the story with narration, which I didn't in fact know. I didn't know what I was buying. I literally just bought it because it was shiny and I like the look of it. I'm literally like a magpie when it comes to Doctor Who stuff. So yeah, it turns out that this is the television soundtrack with audio narration in there by Fraser Hines, and yeah, it sounds pretty bloody brilliant. To start off with, where can you buy this from? Now, originally it was a limited edition to local retailers for Record Store Day. That was when it was released, and basically it's your non-sort of branch stores, so mainly in local areas. I know that Record Store Day is quite popular down south. It has normally big queues outside the small retailers. Luckily, my local retailer doesn't have many Doctor Who fans, so I managed to pick up on my releases pretty early on the day, so that's quite good. But yeah, it is currently available on pre-order on Amazon for £25. I do believe that price will fluctuate, however, due to this being pre-filmed. I don't know if it'll be released already. I don't know if it'll be in stock for long. I'm guessing it might not be in stock for long with it being limited edition, and then need to get all the stock back from the other places to kind of like put them back and distribute them throughout the internet. So yeah, they are also on eBay as well. I know a few people bought them on the day and then flogged them online to get extra cash, which I know that was a very profitable thing a few years back. So basically, have a look around your normal retailers for Doctor Who stuff and they may stock it. This isn't a silver screen release. It is in fact a Demon record release, I do believe, so you won't be able to find this on the silver screen website, unlike the one that I was reviewing last time. But yeah, as I said in that review, in fact, I'm going to start off with a little bit of a product review format to take a look at the product itself. Lovely artwork done by David Timoni on the front. It's very much reminiscent of that of the Target novels, I think, so maybe in the future, if we get any more of those new series Target novelisations, he may be an artist worth considering, because he seems to have the same sort of details when it comes to the stipple effect, as you can see here on Patrick Troughton's face, which is an excellent likeness. So as you can see along the bottom, we get some Cybermen there, along with two sort of standard Trooper Cybermen, and then the rather unusual looking Cyber Controller with his massive pulsating head thing. Let's not think about that head any longer, because the more you look at it, the weirder it gets. And then we have this rather nice sort of brushstroke effect at the very bottom, making it look almost like a frozen kind of backdrop. And I do love the way that on the top here we have this rather nice white background in there as well to kind of recreate that frozen feel of the story. It doesn't really follow any previous Doctor Who releases, which I quite like. It's kind of unique in its own right. So as you can see at the top we get the Doctor Who logo, Tomb of the Cybermen, and at the very bottom we get the original BBC television soundtrack starring Patrick Troughton, and then narrated by Fraser Hines along with the BBC logo. Under the casing we do get the Demons Music Records logo, along with the Doctor Who Tomb of the Cybermen title, and then at the very bottom the product code. And then on the back, once again, we get a continuation of the artwork with that rather nice sort of steamed frozen effect, which is very, very nice. And then we get the Cyber Controller once again on the back. So of course have some details about the actual release itself, along with once again a few more credits, and then what side is what episode from the release. So as you can see, LP1 is episode 1 and episode 2, along with the air dates and the time, along with where it aired on the BBC. And then we also have LP2, which is side C, episode 3, and then of course side D, episode 4, which is rather nice way to in fact have it. And very convenient that classic Doctor Who stories were only 25 minutes long each. Inside of the release we get a little bit more information about Tomb of the Cybermen, accompanied by some rather nice television and promotional stills from that story. So this includes a few Second Doctor quotes, along with some actual description of Tomb of the Cybermen itself. And then on the opposite side, once again, we get a few casting credits, which is really nice to see of everybody within the actual story, along with the recording details from the actual story itself. And then of course at the very bottom we get a few voice voice credits from the people that also starred throughout the episodes. Yeah, a really nice layout, and I love the way they have that once again black and white TARDIS in there, and this sort of simplistic Frozen style of design. On the inside, the vinyls are displayed in your normal vinyl sleeves. As you can see, you get the Doctor Who logo, and then we get the details of what side this is. So this is the LP2 with episodes 3 and episode 4, and then just sliding this out to actually show the record on the inside. As you can see, they've gone with this really lovely sort of shiny silver effect there, making it look rather unusual as opposed to just your standard black along the Doctor Who logo, rather nicely added on there as well. So moving over that to the side carefully, and then we have the other version, which is just once again the Doctor Who logo, but this time it is in a dark blue, and then we have the episode details on the back. So what this release is actually about, as vinyls normally come in sort of a cellophane wrap type thing, we also have this little sticker on the front that reads exclusive to record store date 2018, along with 2 180G heavyweight translucent silver vinyls for the first and sleeve notes and behind the scenes photos. So yeah, that's very nice, in case you wanted the record store date details on this. Overall, for the actual physical vinyl double LP, I think that this is actually a really stunning piece to add to the collection, and if you're a classic fan, it's definitely even worth considering buying, even if you don't have a record player. Yeah, that's the product. Now I'm going to be taking a look at the actual story itself. Now, I'm not going to really be going into the episode review style of format to take a look at Tomb of the Cybermen, because I'm assuming if you're going to buy the television soundtrack, you've no doubt probably watched Tomb of the Cybermen many times before, because once again, it's a little bit of sort of obscure Doctor Who history, and normally I kind of recommend maybe reading the Target novel version or actually watching the story beforehand, or maybe even the audiobook version, because that's the thing now, we've got so many different variations, pretty much every single classic Doctor Who story. Some people don't like them. I'm not gonna lie, when listening to this, I honestly thought it was quite easy to follow. I don't know if it's because I've actually watched the story before, but that said, it was a very long time ago. I've not seen Tomb of the Cybermen in quite a while now. I still felt like I understood the story, understood the characters, and it actually sounds brilliant. I think there's something about 60s Doctor Who and vinyl records that go together incredibly well, because, of course, previously, as I said, I reviewed the Daleks record, and the sound of the Daleks and the heartbeat sort of music that they have, and the very industrial sound effects that they have, and it's very clean, quite a nice sort of feel. And then the same with the Cybermen as well, that iconic tune that we have, the that one, you know, from the majority of 60s Cybermen stories, that is just incredibly powerful on the record format. And when the Cybermen in fact first burst out, I do believe in episode 2, and we have them saying "we will survive" and all that, as they do repeat at several points throughout the story, it feels incredibly chilling, complete different atmosphere to the actual story itself. But I must admit, at the same time, it won't be for everybody. Considering that this is around 2 hours long, to be honest, I actually felt like it went pretty quick. But that said, I am used to listening to Big Finish audio dramas, which are normally around 2 hours each month for the main range, so maybe that might sort of affect it in some way. If you're somebody that isn't really used to listening to audio stories, you might find it a little bit longer. But I do think the way that we have the connecting stuff from Fraser Hines, descriptive stuff, the stuff that you can't exactly see on audio, so say if the Doctor opens a big massive door, Fraser will say, "The Doctor strides to a door and opens it calmly," or something like that. You know, it's rather sort of narrating the actual actions that you see on screen, and then we have the actual roles from the TV story played by the actual people within the cast itself, meaning that it is very easy to follow. I'm assuming this is the exact format of what the BBC audios were like a few years back when they actually released them, sort of the soundtracks for each story. I'm presuming that these are the same style to those. If so, to be honest, I might end up getting some of them in the future, because as I said, if it's some episodes like, say, Fury of the Deep or The Abominable Snowman, if it's like that, then I could probably follow that episode pretty well, because I feel like this episode had a really nice mix between the actual lines from the cast itself, as well as the descriptive stuff from Fraser Hines. Something about Patrick Troughton's Doctor on record as well, because he's just a very warm and calming Doctor, and there's some absolutely brilliant scenes throughout Tomb of the Cybermen. There's in fact the one where he's talking to Victoria, and they say about sort of how he can remember his family, and they're always there in his mind, and sort of he really needs to think about it. That beautiful scene that many people do adore, that is on this vinyl version, of course, and then the actual breaking out of the Cybermen, and also just like the characteristics between Jamie and the Second Doctor as well, that relationship that a lot of us are aware of. It's just really nice to actually hear those voices together, and there's something about this of actually being able to not see them on screen, but actually just to be able to listen to the voices, sort of you get the raw emotions from that, and it is just a really nice experience. So if you're somebody that is in fact used to or the audio drama format, you may enjoy this. But that said, if you don't have a record player, then this will not be a release for you, because because you obviously won't be able to listen to it. But that said, if you like collecting like vinyl records and not actually listening to them, it is very pretty, and the artwork on the front is very nice as well. So, you know, you might want it anywhere because the records on the inside are all nice and silver, and it's all, as I say, very exciting. That is one of the main reasons why I bought it. But I think that, as I say, this episode adds a whole new level to the Cybermen experience, bearing in mind this is 60s Who, so Cybermen are kind of like the main villain at the minute. I do believe that this is the second story after 3 appearances within 1 year or something like that. So yeah, they are pretty much the main part of Doctor Who. I think that this story is definitely them in their prime time. I like this one, I like the Moonburst, and to be honest, I kind of like the Invasion as well. I don't think there's any Cyberman story, in fact, from the 60s that I don't like. Well, apart from the Wheel in Space, but that said, I've not actually seen that in full, obviously, because it's missing. So yeah, perhaps I might need to go and get the television soundtrack for the Wheel in Space at some point and enjoy that, because if it's anything like this, as I say, I probably will be able to follow it quite well. So I guess to summarise for this review, why would you want to move the Cybermen on vinyl soundtrack, considering it's more expensive than the CD version, and you may as well just buy the story and then you can have the audio and the visual at the same time, or you could just read the book. Well, it's the same answer to every single thing with Doctor Who. Why not? Because this will gauge to a different audience that won't be able to sit comfortably with audio dramas, or won't be able to sit comfortably with reading, or perhaps enjoys audio dramas more than actual visual stories. So I guess that Doctor Who just offers something for everybody, and this story is definitely very much an example of that. And as I said, the compliments that I've gave it throughout this video, such as the warmness and sort of friendliness of the different voices throughout the story, and the fact that the Cybermen as well, that 60s chilling Cyberman voice, is just brought out so well on vinyl, because of course it sounds different to listening to it, say, through headphones. Same with the music as well. You can really get that idea and atmosphere that they're in this sort of ice cavern. Everything feels echoey, and it almost feels like you're listening to a 4D Doctor Who story from the classic series, but without the visuals. So yeah, I am quite interested to see if they continue this line in the future of maybe other narrated Doctor Who stories. I think that Genesis of the Daleks was the one previously released last year, so that'll be interesting if I ever get lucky enough to in fact get that one at some point. But I think that it'll be interesting to see how the City of Death is presented in this format as well, because I know it's quite different in many ways to Tomb of the Cybermen. Of course, 60s Doctor Who is quite cold in more ways than one, and then City of Death is kind of one of those James Bondy style of stories that is rather colourful, but at the same time has rather upbeat music in there as well. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the two contrast. But that said, if you are a Doctor Who vinyl fan, then I definitely recommend picking this up, partly because it's limited edition, it's a nice collector's piece, and it looks really pretty. If you don't have a vinyl player, I probably wouldn't recommend buying this, because you know, it'll just sit on your shelf. But that said, if you like the look of it, buy it anyway, because it is only around £25 to £30, something like that, depending on where you get it from. So yeah, a nice thing, and a great little sort of niche thing to add to your collection as well. So I guess that's it for the Doctor Who Tomb of the Cybermen double LP review. If you have any questions about this release, then please do leave them in the description below, and I'll definitely reply to them at some point in the near future. And I guess stay tuned for more of Doctor Who vinyl reviews in the future as well, including City of Death, and also I have the Ghostlight soundtrack as well that I got recently from the same record store as this one. I do know there's more Doctor Who vinyls coming out in the future as well, including a possible Big Finish 4th Doctor story, so that is exciting. No doubt I'll get around to reviewing that. So I hope you've enjoyed this review, even though it's something sort of brand new still for this channel. We're running into the second video, but that said, at the same time, it's always nice to start off a new series of videos to keep up the variety, so to speak. So that said, I shall see you all in the next Doctor Who product review at some point in the near future. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye for now.